Ivan's been with us once before, I think. And the luck of the draw, he was drawn again this time. Now, Ivan is originally from Bulgaria, and he wants to remind us to seize the day and enjoy the here and now. We're going to be doing that with you, Ivan. There's something that I read, and I just kept reading it. It concerns me a little bit. Maybe you can straighten this out. This is some of the information you gave us earlier. You said that you got into comedy after realizing most comedians aren't that funny. Okay, so, some people say I overthink some things too much, but I got to thinking, so was your thought process, hey, comedians aren't all that funny. People say I'm not very funny, therefore I should be a comedian. Is that I'm not quite following.
Well, nowadays what happens is politicians end up being funnier than comedians.
Okay.
And I've been at comedy shows, and sometimes I kind of wait for a punchline or for something to happen, and it's kind of waiting for the perfect husband. It never happens.
Got it. Now, all of our comedians know the KIC principle here. So just a little reminder. I mean, not based on anything in the past, but I know something about, comedians and, when you get all worked up. You know what KIC is? No. Keep it clean. Or, that mariachi sometimes just pops out. And I know full confidence. Welcome, Ivan!
Hello, Charlotte. It's good to be here. I guess you sensed the nervousness Ralph had because he has no clue what I'm going to talk about. To be honest, I don't have a clue either, but we'll kind of improvise. I asked for a stool because most professional comedians, they have a stool. So I'm not sure if I'll have another chance, but at least for tonight, I will have a stool. And another thing I don't get is it's called stand-up comedy, but most of them end up sitting down. So it's a mix of sit down and stand-up comedy at the same time. Now, to do comedy and to stay clean, to put that in perspective, it's like you're a jockey and you go on a horse race, but you have to race without the horse. So that's kind of how I feel, but I did a few punchlines here to make sure I don't stay too long on it. I was also hoping for a real audience. I'm not saying anything about you, but you didn't pay. So all of you came here free. So I don't feel much of an achievement to be here. But think about it, you all had to pay for parking. So welcome to downtown Charlotte. So then, how many of you really paid for parking? Okay, good. You should not be presidents. You should not be politicians because you're too honest. The rest can go into politics. I was thinking about running, but I missed that election, so I was thinking about running on the next election for president. But there's two things that prevent me from it. First, I don't want to make promises I cannot keep. And it seems like most presidents get elected based on what they promise, but then they kind of all forget what they promised and they don't really keep their promises. And the second thing that prevented me from running for president is I was not actually born in Kenya. Now, I wanted to elaborate on the Carpe Diem movement, which was back in the days from Emily Dickinson. She has a nice poem about it. But that basically means seize the day, grab the moment, and enjoy the moment. So we're all here to kind of enjoy the moment, and let's get into that. We're not going to get into politics, but the good thing about it, you can be observative and not pay attention to the mainstream media and then find things that are very questionable. For instance, all countries are in debt. So if you get all the debt of all countries, the whole world is about 5 trillion in debt. Do you know how much money that is? I don't know either, but it sounds like a lot. So, and then the other question I have is like, who is the world in debt to? It's like, are we in debt to the aliens? Because normally like, America owes China, China owes Russia, Russia owes Germany, so in the end it should all clear out. You know, politics is not the same as accounting. So sometimes when you ask questions, you end up realizing you wake up, but you know, most of the others are still asleep. But it's dangerous to keep your head up when everybody around you has lost theirs. That's from Rudyard Kipling. There's a poem that's If. It's one of the most popular poems in the world. So that's about politics. I'm not a good politician, that's why I'm not gonna run for it. Another thing I'm kind of good at is relationships. I'm a relationship expert, that's why I'm still single. I mean, do you know what's the #1 reason for divorce?
Marriage.
Marriage, of course. Somebody's already in line with that. Now, making love, it's also kind of like doing stand-up comedy. It takes hours of preparation and then it only lasts 5 minutes. Now, I had a friend who did skydiving and he said, man, it only lasted 1 minute, but I swear it felt so much longer. And I've heard that from a lot of women too. Now, another thing I know about dating, the only thing that's worse for dating, other than living with your parents, do you know what that is? That's living with your wife. This guy out there is not laughing, I guess he lives with his wife. And then married men live longer than single, but they're much more willing to die. That's another thing which is a general truth. And you know, the last, when you argue with a woman, be careful, because unsatisfied woman is worse than a terrorist. At least with him you can negotiate. Advice for all men, just remember that. Women have the last word in each argument. Anything said after that is the beginning of a new argument. Thank you.
Well, I have to say, I don't know about most comedians, but this comedian is